All right, good afternoon, Ghana, and you're welcome to the program. And it's good afternoon, Ghana. My name is Annie Efwampofo. And today on our table is the gold for oil deal that Ghana is going in. So there's been a lot of discussion around it. What exactly is the deal? Is it barter trade? What is in for Ghana? Because at this point in time, when we go into any deal, we expect to benefit. But there's been a lot of analysis, criticisms, and demand for more information on the deal so that Ghana will know what it is actually going into. There's been also some allegations that people are actually, the Bank of Ghana is taking gold without invoices and, some allegations like that. But what's the truth behind it? We're going to get into the analysis of these. Alex Mould is a former CEO for NPA, and he has also written about it, has spoken about it. Last week on Good Morning Ghana, we had Mr. John Kwachi, Dr. John Kwachi of the IEA, who also raised questions about same, that is the gold for oil. And we also have Mohammed Kudus, who is a communications manager, NPA, will also join us to explain to us what exactly is in this deal for the country. My name is Annie Efwampofo. Let's take a breather. I'll be back, and then we start.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Randy.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Well, Prof, I'm sure that you've seen the release or the rejoinder from the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, I have. I've read it entirely.
Okay. Now, you had tweeted about this development. At that time, I'm sure that the information available to you suggested that it was about $41.9 billion and therefore about $3.1 billion. And you were worried about a collusion between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. And you were wondering why the Bank of Ghana will allow its books to be impaired in this manner. What do you make of this rejoinder?
Thank you, Randy. Let me quickly say that, I have a long history.
All right, so that's an interview earlier on done or conducted by Dr. Randy Abbey last week. It was aired on Good Morning Ghana. There's a part of the gold for oil which Dr. John Kwachi spoke about, so we'll get us through to you. And he's also raised questions about, the gold for oil deal. There's a particular question of if we actually have enough gold to do this. And there's also been the questions about reducing the price once the oil comes in, because when it was spoken about, the vice president who has been speaking about it actually was specific to the fact that it will come into the market with lower cost in the oil, so that when you go to the pumps to buy your oil, you buy it at a lower cost. All right, let's go to the Daily Post page 8 of the Daily Post, and Alex Mould wrote something about it. I'll take my time to read a bit, and then before he joins us. It says, Alex Mould slams gold for oil policy, explains why it will not bring any extra foreign exchange to Ghana. A former chief executive officer of the Ghana National Petroleum Authority, GNPC, has slammed the Kufuor Bawumia government's so-called gold for oil policy because, according to him, it will not bring any extra foreign exchange to the country because it is the same gold that currently is being sold by the licensed exporter, with the revenue already being remitted back to Ghana. Explaining his position on the matter in an interview with the Daily Post over the weekend, Mr. Alex Mould also said that all the revenue from Ghana gold exports via large scale, small scale, and community miners accrued to and is brought back into the country either through the Bank of Ghana and or commercial banks, and only exceptions being those mining companies that government has approved to withhold some remittances. Thus, no new foreign exchange will accrue to Ghana from the sale of gold by VOG via domestic purchase program, that's DGP. It is the same gold that has already been sold by the licensed exporter, the revenue for which is already being remitted back to Ghana. If government decides to export gold directly via BOG's DGP program, then the licensed exporters' share of gold exports will reduce, whereas the share of gold exports by the Bank of Ghana will increase. This is zero-sum game, as no additional gold will be sold. It will just be a redistribution of the exports proceeds occurring to licensed exporters and to the BOG, he said. Now, so former GNPC board Alex Mould has joined us. Later, we will play what Dr. Kwache said also about the gold for oil in the interview with Randy. But let me welcome Alex Mould. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here on Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Good afternoon, and how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. I hope you're doing well as well.
Well, we're trying to understand a lot of things in this country. So health-wise, I'm doing well, but in terms of understanding things in this country, it gets complicated every single day.
Exactly our reason for calling you this afternoon. I think as you, the experts, continue to speak about it, we also get a little confused and want to understand the issues that you're raising, because, and this is pertaining to the gold for oil deal, which of course we've had the Vice President speak about it. We thought it's as simple as we heard him speak, but it looks like what you are bringing out, there is more questions than answers. People have also raised questions about the intermediary that the Bank of Ghana says is dealing with. But first, before we come to the intermediary bits, what is your criticism of this deal?
First of all, I don't think this deal is actually necessary at all, because Ghana doesn't have a problem with exporting gold, nor do we have a problem with importing petroleum products. We have a system that is working. The main challenge we have in Ghana is with foreign exchange. Now, what we are being told about this gold for oil transaction is that by government entering into the gold purchase and gold sale business, we're going to have more foreign currency coming into the country. That makes absolutely no sense, because unless we're going to produce more gold, then we're not going to have more foreign currency coming into the country from gold sales. Because if you look at the way you mine gold, gold miners, the small-scale miners and the community miners are paid in cedis. The way gold is financed is you have some financier in Dubai or India outside the country who's pre-financing the gold that he's buying. So he sends money down through Bank of Ghana to his gold intermediaries here, who then go and collect the gold and export the gold using the gold license that has been licensed by the Minerals Commission or via PMMC. So the gold already has been is being exported, and it's being accounted for, and the foreign exchange is being paid through Bank of Ghana. So there is not going to be any change in the amount of foreign currency we use. So for me, I don't understand when they say by government entering into the gold purchase and gold sale business, we are going to increase the amount of foreign currency in the country, and there will be less pressure on the foreign currency or Bank of Ghana to make foreign currency available for the purchase of petroleum products. Now let's come to petroleum products. We spend $350 million every month on an average to buy petroleum products. So Bank of Ghana knows that. Bank of Ghana receives, our total exports in this country is about $17.4 billion, out of which maybe about 12 billion comes back into this country. So if we have 12 billion coming into this country, that means that we have almost $1 billion coming into the country every month on an average. So there is not going to be any less pressure on the demand of foreign exchange unless we have more foreign exchange flows coming through exports. So the drive here is we should increase exports. Also, Bank of Ghana needs to make available to the importation of petroleum products the dollars. Now, I don't understand why Bank of Ghana cannot coordinate with the commercial banks to ensure that 350 million out of the 1 billion we receive on an average in this country is allocated to the most important commodity we import in this country, which is petroleum products. This is the problem I have with the the program. And since it doesn't make any sense why government is entering into it, it is very obvious that certain individuals who are very close to government and maybe control government one way or the other are trying to get into the gold export business and using the government mechanism. And that is why I said this gold for oil is a ruse. It's a cloud over our eyes. It's making us believe, it's like magic. It's making us believe the unbelievable, because there is not going to be any extra foreign exchange coming to ease the foreign exchange pressure that we have in this country.
So let me bring this in. There's been also the issue raised with how much Ghana loses as far as gold that is exported is unaccounted for, to the tune of about 9 billion annually, that we do not know how it gets out and we are not able to account for. And those are some of the factors the government has provided as reasons why there is the need for us to, trace all these natural resources that we take out and are unable to account for, and see how best we can benefit from. So if we're able to track this, that we're losing, the track on, there's a possibility of, gaining some extra foreign exchange if we are able to sip the loophole.
So the 9 billion that is going lost, that is equivalent to 5 million ounces of gold. This is total bollocks. It's a lie. No, Ghana does not export. We don't produce that much gold. Ghana produces the large-scale miners, which produce majority of our gold, produce just over 2 million ounces. The small-scale miners with the community miners produce about 1 million ounces. If there's any smuggling and any shortage, maybe 10%, 15%, 20%. But for somebody to come and tell us that there is 5 million ounces of gold being exported in this country and we can't find it, or we don't understand how it's being exported, it's total bollocks. It's a lie. I mean, there is nothing to support this in this country. So first of all, let us put that aside. It's not true. There is some truth in that. There is some gold that doesn't pass through the normal channels. But let me make you understand something. Anybody who is financing gold with cedis here needs foreign exchange. And the reason why he needs foreign exchange is twofold. One is that he imports products into this country and he has excess cedis, and he wants a mechanism where he will get his own foreign exchange. And as such, he could enter into this gold market. The second way that you find people smuggling gold out of this country is those people who have made illicit gains, mainly from government transactions, and have made so much money that they don't know what to do with their money, and they cannot use the banking sector to transfer money out of this country. And as such, they may enter into gold exports, gold smuggling. So those are the two main avenues you're going to get people trying to do that. But the quantum of the $9 billion you're talking about, it's totally untrue. It cannot be true.
This report, we got the assessment in 2021. That 2021, that year, it says that an assessment of trade data on gold export between Ghana and its major partners, including India, United Arab Emirates, and Switzerland in 2019 reviewed that more than $9 billion worth of gold exports remained unaccounted for.
That means that the one that means unaccounted for exceeds the one that is accounted for, because our total sales in 2021 in gold, I don't think exceeded 6.6 billion. I think it was about 5.4 billion.
Okay.
5.4 billion is what we exported in 2021. In 2022, we exported 6.6 billion, 30% more. So I don't know where those numbers are coming, but that is not the issue. The issue is if there is smuggling, government entering into gold purchasing is not going to stop the smuggling. Because you see, the reason why gold may be smuggled is that there's not enough financing to finance the gold production. And as such, people who have extra cash are now entering into this mechanism, and they do not want their money to be known. And as such, they will smuggle the gold out of the country. Now, the next question you should ask, Annie, is why is this gold smuggling such a prolific activity? Can people smuggle gold without government institutions involved, without the customs, without the army, without the whole mechanism involved in it? And if that is the case, the real question is, why isn't government clamping down on smuggling? By them entering into the gold purchase business is not going to stop the smuggling, because first of all, you should have an abundance of money to buy the gold. And government does not have an abundance of money to buy the gold. We don't even know how they're buying the gold. Whether Bank of Ghana is lending money to PMMC or Bank of Ghana is buying the gold directly, and whether Bank of Ghana has the mechanism to do that. So there are a lot of questions around the gold for oil transaction. The major one I have come out with is that government is not entering this transaction to reduce the price of petroleum products. One, government is not entering this transaction to put less pressure of foreign currency on the market, because we've both agreed here that one, if government doesn't curtail smuggling, and smuggling is not going to be curtailed by government entering into the business of buying gold, but rather government doing its work and protecting our borders and ensuring that every single community mine and small-scale miner accounts for its production. That's the only way we're going to stop the smuggling. Government coming in to buy gold is not going to do that. And you and I know that when government enters into such transactions, they are not very effective or efficient. We have seen that from the production of crude oil in the country. We've seen that from the importation of petroleum products by government entities, although they are not licensed to import these products like BOST. We've seen that they are not effective. So there are a lot of issues that have to be asked. There are a lot of issues that have to be spoken about. And there are a lot of questions that have to be answered. NPA has to answer a lot of questions. The government, the Ministry of Energy has to answer a lot of questions. The Ministry of Minerals and Minerals Commission have to answer a lot of questions as to why there's smuggling in the country, and how they are, and what mechanisms they are putting in place to curtail this smuggling.
Yeah.
But most importantly, when you buy gold from the small-scale miners, the small-scale miners price the gold based on the international gold price in dollars.
Right.
But they receive cedis because you pay them in cedis. So gold is we already buy gold in Ghana in cedis. So the rules put over our heads is that now we're going to buy gold in cedis. And the fact of the matter is that all small-scale miners and community miners sell their gold in cedis to their exporters. The exporters who have been pre-financed by their buyers in Dubai and India and in other buying centers, give the gold to these people, and the money passes through Bank of Ghana. So I don't understand exactly what the benefit is of government going to enter. Lastly, government is saying that we're going to see a reduction in the petroleum price because they're buying in cedis and they're buying using the Bank of Ghana rates. Now, Annie, if you are a small-scale miner and you know that the gold price is, let's say, 1,800, and you sell gold, the gold d'or that you produce at 95%, will you accept a 10.8 exchange rate, or you will ask them to use the commercial bank rate of 12.5? That is the question that should be asked. So is government buying the gold at the Bank of Ghana reference rate? I'm glad they've now said it's a reference rate and not an interbank rate. The Bank of Ghana reference rate of 10.8 that Bank of Ghana publishes every day, or are they buying it using the commercial bank rate of 12.5? This is the question that has to be answered. They should tell us how much they bought the gold that was used for the purchase of petroleum products. My understanding is they use cash to buy the first cargo. I don't know if that is true, but maybe they sold the gold and got the dollars to buy the gold. But the second cargo and third cargo, it's not very clear whether they are selling gold and buying the cargoes, or Bank of Ghana is now acting as a commercial bank and lending money to BOST to buy petroleum products. This has to also be clarified.
Yeah, does that bother on the intermediaries as well? Because Bank of Ghana has indicated that it has existing intermediaries who, will come in to support just in case they find the oil but do not have the cash to buy. There is the intermediary that will come in, buy the gold, and then use the money to purchase the oil on behalf of Ghana. Does that not also raise questions? Because people have asked questions who these intermediaries are.
First of all, let us get something straight. We have a system that works in Ghana. We have BDCs that bring products into Ghana. BDCs do not have problems bringing products into the country. The problem they have is the inability to receive the foreign exchange from Bank of Ghana or from the banking sector. Since Bank of Ghana is the apex entity that controls all foreign exchange in this country, Bank of Ghana knows how much of the foreign currency we receive in this country, the $1 billion a month we receive in this country, how much of that goes to Bank of Ghana and how much of that goes to the commercial banks. So Bank of Ghana should be able to work with the commercial banks who finance these BDCs to ensure that they make this foreign currency available to them at the right time and at the right price. So I don't understand why government is entering into the import of petroleum products. It's not like...
So the Bank of Ghana is practically or literally acting now, in this case, as a BDC.
Well, I mean, and they'll say they're acting through BOST. So the question is, who is buying the product? Is it BOST who is actually paying for the product, or Bank of Ghana is paying for the product? You see, it depends on who is paying for the product, who is the borrower on record. If the borrower is BOST, then Bank of Ghana is lending money to BOST to buy products. Now, can Bank of Ghana do that without parliamentary approval? Can Bank of Ghana just lend money, even to government? Can Bank of Ghana just lend money to government? There's a big issue right now where Bank of Ghana has lent about 40-something billion cedis to government of Ghana, and the parliamentarians are saying that they have violated the laws of Ghana. So if Bank of Ghana cannot unilaterally just lend money to government of Ghana, how can Bank of Ghana lend money to BOST? I mean, it beats my... I just don't know what they are doing. It's not been well.
So for clarity, the BOST is now acting as an agent for the Bank of Ghana, because clearly the Bank of Ghana is leading this deal.
Yes, Bank of Ghana is leading this deal. The Bank of Ghana is selling the gold and it's getting dollars. Now, where does Bank of Ghana get the cedis to buy the gold? I don't know. My understanding is that later in life, BOST is going to raise cedis through the sale of petroleum products that Bank of Ghana has purchased. It's very murky. It's not very clear. And there are a lot of questions that the people involved in this, the BOST CEO, Bank of Ghana themselves, NPA as a regulator, and the Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Finance need to answer a lot of questions that are still pending. And because this thing is a ruse, and because it is mainly set up to allow certain individuals that are very close to the highest levels of this government to get involved with the export of gold. About a third of the export of gold is from the small-scale miners and from the community miners. So immediately you're going to have one individual or a group of individuals controlling 1/3 of the whole export of gold in this country. You're also going to have, few individuals very close again to government who are going to control the importation of petroleum products. And my understanding is that they are aiming at 40 to 50% of all imports of petroleum products. Can you imagine that somebody is controlling, close to $2 billion of imports of petroleum products, and is controlling also about $2 billion of exports of gold? Do you understand the commissions that person will be making?
Mm-hmm. And we do not know this, and we do not know this person.
Well, we do not. It's very murky, but the truth, like pregnancy, will always come out.
Can you hold on there? We had an interview earlier on with Dr. John Kwachi, who also, raised a few criticisms about the deal. Let's have that interview, and then we'll come back to Mr. Moult.
Lending channels. I mean, that they have indicated. If you go through them one by one, I can take all of them and say that they all come to the same thing. Whether
Act 982, in view of the crisis precipitated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Fiscal Responsibility Act has not yet been reinstated by Parliament. What is your understanding of this?
Bank of Ghana is holding the gold, and then government comes and he says, give me the gold to go and buy oil. So they lose the gold. So which asset would they have to cover the cedis that they have issued into the system? And then the other question is, what prevents the companies, the mining companies that are going to get the cedis from entering into our local, foreign exchange markets and purchasing, foreign exchange, which will put pressure back on the exchange rate? All these links and connections, a lot of people cannot do it, and therefore you hear people saying, even very prominent people who should know better, say, oh, this is a wonderful initiative and all that. Well, when they called the Bank of Ghana deputy governor to Parliament before the Public Accounts Committee, now this gold exchange, program, we are told is a joint effort between Bank of Ghana and the government. But he went there to say that there are two legs, to the exercise. Bank of Ghana buying the gold, and then the gold being used to, buy, exchange for oil. That he is only familiar with the first leg, which is Bank of Ghana buying the gold, but not the other leg. I mean, how can we then accept that this is a joint effort between government and the Bank of Ghana?
Now, Doc, before I let you go, kindly take us through the implications of the actions of the central bank and what we need to do. Yes, there's a law. It is apparent that the law has been breached. What are the implications of the actions of the central bank, and what do we need to do? You've already told us about the implications on fighting inflation. In one breath, you are raising prime rates to mop up excess liquidity. On the blind side of everybody, you are printing 45 billion cedis for government to spend. But what really are the implications of these interventions or these breaches by the central bank?
Oh, the economic, we're talking about economic implications. Yes. As I've said, the central bank should understand that if you push so much liquidity into the economy, you are fueling inflation. So, we should all be surprised that inflation is 54%. Of course, there are supply side effects, but Bank of Ghana in its own statement, multi-policy committee statement, accept that the demand pressures have also contributed to in a very high rate of inflation, even though they don't tell us where those demand pressures have come from. But for sure, it is coming from the printing, so much printing of money that you have done. They are not. They won't say that, specifically. And then it also fuels CD depreciation. You see, so you are undermining your own policies. You are supposed to control inflation. You are supposed to stabilize the exchange rate, but you are doing things that are undermining that objective. Okay, and then you turn around to raise the policy rate, and it affects the lending rates. It affects the cost of borrowing, and then it harms the real economy also. Okay, so they have very serious implications as far as the economy is concerned. And then what is also missing from the Bank of Ghana Act and most of our laws is enforcement. Because when I read the law, I don't seem to see anything that says when the 5% ceiling is breached, there should be these consequences. There should be consequences. The law should say that, somebody, the bank or somebody must be sanctioned. And who is doing the sanctioning? Is it the Attorney General or is it?
Okay, that was a lengthy interview, but we have to come through and deal with the matter on the table now that has to do with the gold and oil, deal. So we have been joined via Zoom by Mohammed Kudus, who's Communications Manager for NPA. Mohammed, thank you for joining us here on Good Afternoon Ghana. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. If you can speak up briefly. So let me find out from you this deal, right? The gold for oil deal. Can you tell us who really is leading it?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all say good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to my former boss and still my boss, Mr. Alex Mould. It is always a difficulty having to be on the platform for a discussion such as this, but I'll still manage my way out. Primarily, this is a government program, and there is a web of agencies that are actually putting their efforts together to make it happen. So among the agencies working to this, central is the Bank of Ghana. And then we have the Precious Minerals Marketing Commission. Then we have the National Petroleum Authority. We have BOST itself with the Ministry of Energy sitting on top. So if you were to ask who is leading it, I probably would conveniently say it is the ministry, with the related organization playing different roles depending on what their mandate is supposed to be.
As a ministry, which ministry specifically are you talking about?
Ministry of Energy.
Ministry of Energy. So well, somewhere I saw a table. Somewhere
Absolutely.
I saw a chart of how the tree of the deal looks like, and on top of the chart was the Bank of Ghana.
I don't know the source of your chart.
I cannot
but
disclose
the
it.
Information, absolutely. But so that's what I'm saying. Obviously, the ministry is responsible for everything related to fuel. So the Bank of Ghana's role has to do with the collection of the gold and then ensuring that there is a proper exchange so we can get the commodity, in this case, fuel, into the country. But obviously, anything fuel sits with the Ministry of Energy.
I'm saying that because so far the discussion that we've had about it, you haven't had the Energy Ministry so much representing in the transaction of the deal. Yeah, maybe when the product comes in, it definitely will check its distribution and all. But in the transaction of the deal itself, it has been mostly the Vice President, the Bank of Ghana, and BOST largely speaking about it.
Well, I wouldn't be able to be speaking to this because I speak for the National Petroleum Authority and but not the ministry. So I'm sure that if you were to put your question to the ministry, you would get your answers.
Right. So tell us, is it a broker channel deal or is it a barter trade? What exactly is this deal looking like?
Okay, so once again, I probably can't just take you through what I understand
Right.
per the structure of the program, but specifics to individual responsibilities and roles can be spoken to by the respective organizations or agencies actually in this whole business. But as I know it, it is supposed to be Bank of Ghana, which is supposed to collect the gold from the Precious Mineral Marketing Company. I don't know what it is, commission or company. And that gold, it is actually either given directly to the supplier or converted through a broker into cash, where the broker, the supplier requires cash instead of the gold. But primarily, it is going to be gold throughout. It is at the point of exchange that it is determined whether it's supposed to be the raw gold or a process into a cash, in this case, the dollar, and then given to the supplier for the product to be supplied into the country. That's the general framework as I know it.
As you know it. Okay, so, well, let's take it this way. Since you're coming from NPA, the assurance we had was that when the product comes in, we will have, some reduce cost in fuel purchases. And so we're hoping that we'll actually experience that. But we already had in January the 40 tons coming in, and we really didn't see anything. It was the same that we were, same price that we're buying it for. Alex Mode, your former boss, has actually raised a few issues. He said that international price for diesel has dropped 12%. We have BOG exchange rates also at 10.80 USD from the median, and then 30% 0.25 USD by BDCs in the current window. We also have about 140 metric ton supplier premium due to the prompt payment instead of the median, and blah, blah, blah. But we expected that at least the first, consignment has come in. We know the second one has come in. We still haven't seen any sign of, reduction of prices. What exactly is also happening there? Okay, so we will just take a breather. When we come back, we'll go back to our guest and speak to him. We're speaking with Mohammed Kudus, who is a communications manager for NPA, and then also Alex Mould, who is a former boss of NPA. All of them raising issues with the gold for oil deal. We earlier on aired an interview between Dr. Randy and John from IAA, who has also questioned the meaning of this deal and what we are about to face as a country when we get into such areas. Let's take a breather. When we come back, Mr. Kudus and Alex Mould will join us to finalize our interview. All right, you're welcome back to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Let's go on to back onto the Zoom. We're interacting with one of our guests on the program, Mohammed Kudus, who is a communications manager for NPA, and Alex Mould, former CEO for NPA as well. Mohammed, you can hear me now? Hello, Mohammed. Okay, I can see you. Welcome back.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank
Welcome back. Yeah. So I was asking the question why we had already brought in the first consignment in January. I think the second one has come in too. The second one has come in, right? Confirm that for me.
Not that I'm aware of as we speak.
Okay.
I don't have that information yet.
Okay.
But on the leg of your first question, whether there was actually a reduction and whether the consumers had a feel of it. First of all, I can confirm that there was indeed a reduction at the pump for diesel particularly. So whether the consumers had a feel of it, it is something that is relative, because the consignment that came at the time was so little to have had a larger impact on majority of the consumers. Because as you are aware, the consignment that came just constituted about 10% of the needs of the market. So
of total market consumption.
Absolutely. So you couldn't have had a widespread feel of the impact. But if you take a case of Star Oil and oil, for example, you can confirm that indeed there was a reduction at the pump for the price of diesel. Star Oil posted a piece on their website on the 1st of February, where they actually confirmed that their receipts of the product under the Gold for Oil program has actually affected the price going downwards. At that time, the price of the product on the international market had gone up. The CD had marginally depreciated against the dollar. So if there were going to be a transfer of those effects, the prices at the pump would have been going up. But as it's indicated on their release, the receipts of their product under the Gold for Oil program actually did not get the prices of diesel reflecting the changing prices upward as it was actually pertaining at that particular time. And if you remember, on the 2nd of February, GOIL actually posted about 15.9 liters cedis per a liter Subsequently, they reduced it to 15.25, also tracing it to their receipt of the product under the Gold for Oil program. So obviously, the effect has been there. Some have actually felt it. How widespread is it? That would be another conversation altogether.
But you know, when you make promises, sometimes we're dealing with the exchange rate and we're dealing with the crude oil market price as well. So if you do not have a significant price change of the crude oil, and as the dollar rate also continues to change, it will be difficult for you to assure the people that this is exactly what you're going to be experiencing. And so when there is a reduction, but it is not as significant as we expected, then it will look like you are misleading the people.
And I'm not too sure who is promising here. The role of the
Dr. Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia is the one promising.
I speak for MPA. So let me talk to the rules and responsibility of MPA. We are in this whole process to actually ensure the regularity of the whole process, right from the purchase of it to the distribution and ultimate sale to the consumer. And whichever benefit that is inherent must get to the consumer. That's all we at MP are trying to do. The issue of promise certainly cannot be answered by me or probably the authority.
I will bring Alex Mould in, but let me ask you, don't you find it uncomfortable as MPA that this deal has already started rolling out before information is reaching the public in bits and pieces?
Once again, like I said, we are not owners of the program.
Yes, okay, but you are major stakeholders.
No, absolutely, because anything related to petroleum and its activities relative to the downstream obviously becomes the business of the National Petroleum Authority. Mm-hmm. So that is why, to the extent I'm speaking to the regularity of the process, because whoever would have to bring the product into the country would need clearance from the National Petroleum Authority. Whatever that is inherent in the whole program would have to trickle to the consumer. It then becomes, again, the responsibility of National Petroleum Authority. So if I'm asked any question relative to these two particular issues, then obviously we'll be able to have a conversation. So that is why I'm careful. And in the beginning, I indeed mentioned the various agencies that are interplaying in the whole program to ensure that it actually sees the fruition of the day.
Yeah, but when you're interplaying in this deal, there's no answer. There's no question that you should not be able to answer.
I can answer when it is out. When it has to do with how much, for example, is being paid for the gold. I can answer that. To make any attempt to that would probably be taking the job of my colleague at the Bank of Ghana.
Let me bring in Alex Mould. Alex Mould, can you hear me?
We're loud and clear.
Great. So what do you make of the information coming in from the NPA?
I actually empathize with NPA because they are not actually playing any role in this, but they should do their work. First of all, NPA should ensure that whoever is importing products into this country has the right license to import the products into this country.
Right.
My understanding is that BOST was set up mainly to handle strategic stocks. And as such, the license that BOST has is one of handling strategic stocks. Strategic stocks is not stocks you trade every day. It's you keep the stocks, and after a period of 3 to 6 months, you sell the stock. BOST is now engaging as a BDC. Mm-hmm. So the question for NPA is, has NPA given BOST a BDC license? Or has BOST been given a special license that BOST can trade petroleum products? And the next question for NPA is, whatever license BOST has, if it's a BDC license, BDCs are only allowed to sell to oil marketing companies. My understanding is that this particular gold for oil transaction, BOST will be selling to BDCs. I don't know if there's any license out there that allows a local player to sell to other BDCs. But these are questions we have to ask NPA to fix, because we cannot be handling this project based on instructions
hold on
from the president or from the minister.
Okay,
NPA is to act as a regulator and do its job.
Kudus, are you able to give us brief answers to these? Because I personally wanted to find out the role exactly BOST is playing here, if it has been licensed to operate as a BDC, as Alex Mode is questioning.
Okay, so my briefing is that BOST is properly authorized and licensed to really bring in the product. And as you're aware, apart from the BDCs in the normal course of work, going out there to go and to bring the product, international oil trading companies do also bring the product to our shores, and then the BDC buy from them. So there hasn't been any mutilation of the process as actually spelled out by our act at all. It still remains as it is. So the product would have to come through the BDCs. The BDCs will take it to the OMCs, and then the OMCs get it to the outlets where it is sold to the consumer, like you and I. So my briefing, like I said, has actually been properly addressed that BOST has the authorization to bring in the product, and then when they bring in the product, they sell it to the BDC. The BDCs also then sell it to the OMCs, and then it gets to our respective pumps.
Right. Mr. Kudus, I'm grateful for your time. Alex Mode, if you have just 30 seconds, your last words.
My last words are that, on the price build-up, it's very simple. There are three factors that change in the price build-up that can be manipulated by either the BDCs or the OMCs. One is the BDC supplier premium that it brings petroleum products into the country. My understanding is that it's about $160 per metric ton. And if you're buying spot, if you're buying and you're paying cash, you have a $20 to $30 reduction because the credit cost is about $20 to $30. So we expect the supplier premium to reduce to about $140 per metric ton. We also expect the exchange rate to be less than 11, since it is the average of the last 2 weeks.
Right.
And the highest has been in the last 2 weeks by Bank of Ghana has been 10.85. So we expect the exchange rate to be less than 11. We also expect the oil marketing margin to remain at around $90, 90 cedis, 90 pesos per liter. And that should bring diesel prices to below 13 cedis per liter, and it should bring petrol prices to less than 12 cedis per liter. So we are looking for this reduction at the next window on the 1st of March, and we hope that the names of all the OMCs who will be buying these products will be made known so people can actually see the reduction in the prices at their petrol stations.
Significantly, for that matter. Right, Alex Mode, I'm so grateful for your time. Alex Mode is a former CEO for NPA, and also Mohammed Kudus earlier on spoke with us. He's a communications manager for NPA. This one says that, Annie, this gold for oil deal is a Japan deal in disguise. Ghana, why can't we do things right for once? Greed is a number one enemy. Francis Xavier, lawyer, Laura, he sent that in. Good afternoon, Annie. The country is grateful to you for your lifeline questions to government communicators, exposing them on the gold of oil deal. Please, NPP, fix the economy and don't do Kanana with the gold for oil. Alhaji Haruna Ashaman. Good afternoon, Annie. Please, will you be kind to ask Mr. Kudus for Ghanaians what is happening to our referring plant's condition as well? And then he says that if it's okay, why can't we go for crude oil to refine it ourselves as a country, and then go and then what? Okay, I'll skip this. With crude, why can't we get it refined? I think that's what you want to say. Aman from Adenta. This one says that from General Ortega, Annie, it's embarrassing. Government always aim at benefiting from our predicament. I have not established that on the platform, I'm sorry, but Russia currently currency is with all the challenges and is best performing currency in the world because gold is backing it. Ghana, one of the largest gold producing countries in the world, can't see such an advantage. Crass mismanagement and incompetence. You see, keep up the good work from Kosa Accra. I thank you. Many messages, but this what time will allow me. My name is Ania Fampo for Has Been. Good afternoon, Ghana. Thanks for watching. And we'll have the repeats of this program tomorrow.